Chris Hyde, who is Director of Creative Arts and Curriculum Design at Activate Learning. Growing up in a family retail furnishing company, Chris trained as a cabinet maker, an antique restorer, I hear. So this led to 15 years. This led in 15 years, in his own words, an outstanding specialist furniture education and training centre. Those are your own words. It's outstanding, apparently. Yeah. So, so Chris essentially runs Rycote Wood. And Chris will also apparently explore how we live in what's called a VUCA world. Now, I thought he might be swearing at that, but I'll let him explain what that is. Not sure myself. And also look at essentially how to work with a training provider. It's going to be ably assisted by Mark 18, who's Commercial Director for Activate Learning as well.
Afternoon, everyone. Nice to see you all here. So we're going to talk briefly about how to work with a training provider. Before we look at the practical steps, I want to put the session into context and lay some external groundwork so that we can think about the question, how might an apprenticeship programme work for my company and our industry? So, VUCA, volatile, uncertainty, complex and ambiguous. The world we live in. At this moment, the world is changing faster than it has ever before. When electricity was introduced in 1873, it took 46 years to be adopted by 25% of the population. When the internet was introduced in 1991, it only took 7 years. And that's something to be mindful of as we enter this rapid change of apprenticeship funding and rules of education. The next slide just shows top 10 skills that have been identified through a report, and we can see there's quite a shift. And Johnny mentioned this a little bit earlier today in his talk about design and creativity. So by 2020, the fourth industrial revolution will have brought us an advancement of robotics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, advanced materials. And these developments will transform the way that we live and the way that we work. What is certain is that the future workforce will need to align its skill set to keep pace. Creativity will become one of the top 3 skills workers will need. Creativity in the way that how they will use new machines, new digital platforms, how they will combine all that together, along with traditional skills as well. That is where creativity will play its part. The change won't wait for us. Employers, awarding bodies, educators, training providers and governments all need to be proactive in upskilling and retraining people so that everyone can benefit from the fourth industrial revolution and apprentices. And we can see in education and at Rycote we run all levels, further education, apprenticeship, higher education. We can see very clearly in our student body that apprenticeships will be in high demand. Why? Because young people are going to struggle more and more with money, more and more in looking after and being carers in their families, and are desperate to seek a sense of belonging.
Hello. Right, we talk about changing world. As you can see, I've amended my notes quite substantially from the brilliant presentations this morning from Kathy and Silent Night. So excuse me while I kind of refer to these, but it's a bit of thinking on the spot. What I'm going to try and do is not repeat what's been said this morning, but certainly try and echo and bring to the fore some of the key points that we need to look at in this new world. So we talk about marketing and considering a career in furniture. So what does that mean? We've heard about the levy this morning as well. We really need to understand that the changes that are going to be brought in with the levy are going to affect levy-sized clients and very much those non-levy-sized clients as well. The marketplace is going to get a lot more crowded. We heard again, brilliant employer with Silent Night, brilliant clients from that perspective as well. How they've been doing their program for a while. Well, we're out there talking to dozens of companies of a similar type of size, 500, 1,000 staff, who are exploring the levy and apprenticeships for the first time. So they've never investigated this before. They've maybe had a graduate program. They're now looking to downsize their graduate program and upscale and or start an apprenticeship program. And these guys are all going to be out there looking for the same talent, going to the same talent pools that yourselves are going to as well. So if we think it's hard now, it is going to become harder unless we react and look in different places with different avenues. So, things to consider, and we heard Tom, I think, mention it earlier on as well. Raise the awareness. We have to raise the awareness of the job. What is the job? Is what jobs are available within this industry, and how do we go about that? That needs to be early intervention. So you've got to get into the schools, and we're talking not just the large businesses here, but the smaller business. We heard the average 6, 7, 8, 9 people per company. Somehow you've got to find the time to get into the schools, the colleges, and actually talk through exactly what it is your job roles are, the benefits, where it can go from a pathway point of view, offering taster sessions. It will involve investment in time and effort. The really key one is work experience we see. Getting people in on a work experience. This can work as an extended job interview for both the candidate and the employer. So you can test it out over a period of time. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just that one candidate for a block chunk of time. You can talk to schools and colleges and organise a day a week for different people, go to the schools and colleges and tell them what you want. They are screaming out for employer engagement. It's absolutely one of our major pillars. We want to be talking to employers as a college group. Certain places are better at others. We're seeing a lot of the UTCs, the University Technical College schools, actually dedicate a business resource, a person head, to talk to employers. Not every school is up to speed to that level, so they will need your help to engage fully. But taster sessions, work experience, and look at that as that extended interview. also, don't forget, we've heard a few times today already how the market has opened up from the candidate perspective about degree and graduates. By all means, talk to the universities, go and talk to them. Just because someone's done a history degree doesn't necessarily mean they want to go off and be a history teacher. They can absolutely consider retraining and coming in to another industry. In fact, many people do finish their degree and go and do something completely different. And I think the key message here as well is be consistent. It's going to take time. Just because you've gone in and done one awareness session, one CV building session, doesn't automatically mean that those younger children in schools and colleges are going to remember you. It will take time to push that message through. So that's about getting out there and being proactive. When we move to the actual recruitment, actually engaging with individuals, you have to have a compelling offer. And again, I know I'm going to preach to some of the things you already know, but one of the things I've certainly learned from being in the apprenticeship industry is that the universities and the graduates have been doing that for a while. You only need to pick up a PricewaterhouseCoopers or Barclays Bank graduate programme, glossy brochure, the way they look to attract candidates to themselves. And it's very good. Whereas in the apprenticeship market, we're getting there. Some do it better than others. And there's no reason that even the small employer can't put together a compelling offer with talking about a career pathway, the benefits packages involved, and exactly what they're going to get in that partnership with the employer going forward. So I think we need to make a bigger thing about that, about making it more rigorous in that way. And specifically that career pathway. And we heard earlier again from the Silent Night apprentices how, in actual fact, that's already mimicking more of a graduate programme and less of a transactional apprenticeship 1 year, 2 year programme. They're moving into other areas. I mean, how exciting is that? If we didn't know, that could have been a description of a graduate programme. You just wouldn't necessarily know any different. And there is no reason it should be any different. Returning to that work experience as well, that interview process. A lot of large employers that have been running graduate programs for a while now, they've actually finished their recruitment process for September. They know who they're offering to, they've got conditional offers out, and they have already recruited. I know a lot of SMEs that we work with are still umming and erring about getting budget sign-off, deciding whether to go ahead with it, and the top talent is actually being recruited or has already been recruited. The work experience cycle allows you to get in that much earlier in the September, October, November time. So again, I would just reiterate that is something that's really key to absolutely nail. If we move on to delivery, you've got to plan your program. And again, this means choosing your delivery partner carefully. It should have moved, as I mentioned earlier, from a more transactional sale basis to very much more of a solution sale. What do you exactly want? They should be talking to you about appointing a workshop mentor, an assessor. You should be discussing the types of delivery. Is it block release you require or day release? Block release, an awful lot of good points for that. It gives the candidates a cohort feel, gets them away from the workplace, a number of different things. The thing there around new standards that have been introduced, they've been designed by employers for employers. So don't be afraid to shout and ask from your training provider what you want if they aren't currently giving you what you're after. You can put a flag in the ground. This is what we want. We're paying for it now. Let's create this program together and actually move it on a step from the old transactional basis. Regulatory. So, skip that bit. Regulatory, stay on there just for a minute. We heard about the makeup of the levy earlier on and the changing in the rules. I'm not going to go over that again. One thing I would add in is a lot of training providers, ourselves in particular, with the levy are looking to, again, move away from that transactional side of working together, and we will need to put contracts in place. So do expect your training providers to come to you with probably fairly hefty contracts, because as we heard earlier, you're now in charge, if you're a levy payer, of pressing that button that pays the provider. Previously it was the government, SFA, and it just happened. So, or pretty much just happened. So now it's a much more commercial engagement. So do expect and if you haven't got a contract from your training provider, I would ask, where is it please? Because it will protect you in the longer term as well. Financial tracking, we mentioned the digital account service. One thing again I would say there, lean on your training provider. They will be doing this for multiple companies, varying sizes. If you need support and help, I would ask them, can we look at the account service together? Does everybody know where to go to actually log in? We're still talking to companies that haven't logged in yet. Again, your training provider should have a quick reference guide or a guide to show you how to go about actually getting onto it. And you will, in most instances, in the larger businesses, require finance input to that as well. So if you're HR learning and development, you will probably need finance involvement to be able to actually register and get up and running. And then forecasting as well. Very much discuss that with your training provider to make sure that you're aware of any overspend or indeed underspend, so it gets used correctly. So talent pipeline, we need to look at this as a talent pipeline. And I'm going to summarise, and like I said, I don't want to repeat too much of the stuff that's already been said, the great stuff that's been said today already. Early intervention, get into the schools, make time for it, provide taster sessions, provide that work experience. It's going to be that competitive market. So be compelling, have a compelling offer available, be aspirational, and you should look at it as a graduate programme. Go and do some research perhaps from Pricewaterhouse and the others. How do they present it? What do they talk about? What are the next steps? Most have got glossy brochures. And truly partner your training organisation. Get them in. They should know face to face, this is no longer a transactional sale business. Get them in and talk it through with them. And look at putting apprenticeships at the core of your organisational development strategy. Even in smaller businesses, they should be the future people going through. So thank you very much. I'm going to hand back to Chris now. Thank you.
Tom, I'm going to ask you some questions very quickly because I'm conscious. Why did you go in the furniture industry?
So it kind of started at an early age. I always liked being creative and making things. It's actually quite funny because I found the other day some pieces of paper and stuff underneath my bed from the dated 2008, which is when I was about 9, and I had loads and loads of pages of various designs of had a whole car system, sports cars and stuff, and buildings. I've always liked that process of having an idea which then develops into something. And when at secondary school, that I became fascinated with that kind of process of you have an idea which can then develop to be a piece of furniture which has a kind of effect on the mood of the room as well as having an actual purpose, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. So that was probably the main reason why I went into the furniture industry. Yeah.
And what do you need? So final question, what do you need from the furniture industry?
So I need recognition from companies and of the skill I have and willingness to take me on and see what I have to achieve what I would like, where I would like to get. So that's be able to challenge me and get me involved wherever possible. So that, and train me up so that I can pay back to them once I'm trained.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
A little encouraging quote to finish. That's something that I kind of think the room has, and a kind of a worthwhile goal for all of us in this masterpiece of apprenticeships. Okay, thank you very much.